So we've already seen videos of people fighting in supermarkets, shelves being stripped bare in Italy, where the virus outbreak is getting worse, towns are being quarantined. And now here in the United States, we've heard from the CDC saying it's going to get severe. Donald Trump is certainly taking the kind of opposite approach. It'll be fine, it'll blow over, but the markets are getting hit bad, which is kind of surprising to me. I think you're crazy to panic sell, but people are doing it. So you know what's going to happen? The coronavirus panic is going to hit the market. Smart investors are going to scoop up the dip and they're going to make a ton of money off of this. I'm not trying to be a dick or, kind of downplay the severity of this, but it's going to happen. I'm not going to sell anything, but that's just me. So now in the United States, Trump is definitely saying things are calm. The CDC is saying it's going to get bad. We have this report. The CDC confirms first unknown origin coronavirus case in Northern California resident who hasn't recently traveled abroad or been exposed to an infected patient after Donald Trump insisted the risk to Americans is very low. Yeah, it's going to get bad. Sorry, Trump is wrong on this one. I can understand why the Trump administration would want to downplay this. It's hurting markets. They don't want panic. I get it, but let's just be real. Is this the end of the world? Probably not, but it will get bad. It may get worse than we've experienced in our lifetime. I don't know for sure, but I have some charts to show you comparing coronavirus to other outbreaks. But for those of you that came to this video, you came for a specific reason. The shortage of supplies. Check this out. Shocking photos show Woolworth's shelves stripped of paracetamol and toilet paper just hours after Scott Morrison issued coronavirus pandemic warning. This is probably why Trump didn't go full speed like, hey, the end is nigh, because this is what you can expect. Look at these shelves. For some reason, don't ask me why, in Italy and in Sydney, Australia, people are leaving the pasta behind. I guess, it takes a lot of water to get that pasta edible, so people don't want to buy it. But you can still see a lot of it has been taken. These shelves are being stripped bare. I'm going to tell you this right now. We got a lot of crazy news, all right? It's getting worse. It's going to get worse. And supplies are already being bought in droves, all right? Check this out. This is a graph showing the outbreak. And I'm gonna go back and we'll talk about the CDC, but I want to make sure I get you through the straight details so you can understand the severity of this before we start reading about why the San Francisco or the Northern California individual is so serious. On day 41, this is from this video, day 41 of the coronavirus outbreak. This is when they stopped tracking it, this animation. Look at the blue line. For those that are listening, I'll explain. We're comparing coronavirus to SARS, swine flu, Ebola, and MERS, and coronavirus skyrocketed substantially higher than the rest. Now, you want to know why this is so terrifying? Swine flu is way down. So they take all of these outbreaks from day zero and track the expansion of the disease, the virus, or disease in general. And we can see coronavirus was growing substantially faster than swine flu. Now, down here, you can see in this clip, it says day 212, and you can see we're no longer tracking coronavirus because it hasn't been that many days. Look where swine flu is, 12.3 million, 15.2 million by 212 days with 73,400 deaths and a 0.5% mortality rate. Now listen, swine flu was growing substantially slower than coronavirus with a mortality rate around 20 to 25%. Coronavirus is 4 to 6 times as deadly, and it was growing substantially faster. So we don't know exactly if the coronavirus is going to get out of control, but if you thought swine flu was bad with 15 million infected and 73,000 dead, multiply that number by 6 for your 3% in a worst case scenario. We're looking at 300 plus thousand. It even says day 212 since outbreak. However, the virus's low fatality rate of under 1% meant that fewer than 300,000 people died. And that means if we look at Ebola as well, these other diseases, SARS, MERS, and Ebola, barely even go up. They don't go up. So what we're seeing is the coronavirus may be growing absolutely faster than we saw swine flu with a much worse mortality rate. So going back to the loss of supplies and again, quarantine break, we can't track this anymore. I'm going to do something I don't typically do, but needs to be done. This is preparewithtim.com. First, I will be completely honest and open. All of the videos I do about coronavirus are demonetized. That means when I do this, I know full well it is not going to net me anything for my career, my business. We're not making money. YouTube strikes these videos down immediately in terms of no ads whatsoever. This is, if you go to preparewithtim.com, there's emergency food supplies. Look, they've got that cute little picture of me. Isn't that funny? You can get emergency food supplies. The reason I'm telling you this, I don't normally do these promos, only in extreme circumstances. I've done a dozen or so videos on the coronavirus, and this is only the second time I've ever mentioned this. I did mention it in the podcast the other night, but that was more because of the breaking news around what's happening. So I mean this in all sincerity. If you want to help support the channel and you really are looking for some emergency food supplies, it is a great way to get prepared. Go to preparewithtim.com. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I'll say it again. I'm only doing this because I really do mean it. I got an email from someone saying that they took my advice. A couple weeks ago, I was saying, go out there and get supplies. Don't overreact. Don't buy up, build a bunker, but take it seriously. And now the area they're in is being locked down and they have food. So this could happen to you. But there's another reason why I'm showing you this. They've issued an update. This is, again, preparewithtim.com. They sell supplies, but they're saying that demand is over 100 times normal volume, potentially causing a 5-week delay in more in rare cases. So they're saying they're confident they can get these out in 2 days, but demand is up 100 times due to the coronavirus. Look at these photos. Please, man, take it seriously. These shops are being stripped bare, all right? People are running in, they're buying things up. Scott Morrison of Australia said, hey, pandemic, and people ran to the stores. So it's probably good for all of us that Trump is downplaying this. Of course, his political opponents are weaponizing that against him. I don't know what to tell you other than I think the smartest thing you can do is get ready. It's not so much about whether or not everyone in the world is going to die and we're looking at a zombie apocalypse. Swine flu was bad. This looks like it may be way, way worse in terms of mortality rate and growth. We can't track it. And now the big main story. We don't know how this person in California got the coronavirus. You know what that means? It means there's probably tons of people who have it, and we don't know, and they're spreading it right now, and it's going to reach thousands of people. It's probably already infected thousands of people. Look at it this way. The people who get tested have more severe cases, and that's only around 20% of people who actually catch the virus. 80% is mild. Most of these people probably don't pay attention. So when we're looking at the reported cases that we know of, it's probably disproportionately showing hospitalizations, which means if we're looking at, 50% of the actual people not going to the doctor, it's substantially higher than we're actually seeing. And that's why this happens. CDC confirms first unknown origin coronavirus case in Northern California. This person didn't travel abroad, and so they think this is an example of community spread. So that means it's there. It's in California. Fortunately, one of the smartest things San Francisco did was to declare a state of emergency before these reports came in, but now we can see it may be too late. At least they did it a little bit early. I hope you consider that when you listen to me and I say, buy some food, man. Buy some food and water. Daily Mail reports the first case of coronavirus where the origin of the disease is unknown has been confirmed in the U.S., officials revealed Wednesday. The CDC confirmed the person, a resident in Northern California, had not recently returned from a foreign country and had not been in contact with another confirmed case. The patient is being treated at UC Davis Medical Center in Sacramento, where tests for the virus came back positive. The news suggests that fears of the disease spreading locally in the U.S. could now be a reality, while President Trump continued to tell the public that the risk to Americans is low. Trump's probably right. It probably is low. But just because it's low doesn't mean you are invincible. Trump announced in a press conference Wednesday night that the U.S. was very ready to tackle the disease, and he also handed Vice President Mike Pence the task of leading the nation's response to the disease. Now, of course, we're seeing Trump's political opponents weaponize this against him. It's a mistake, in my opinion. Look, when we're dealing with a crisis, the last thing we should be doing is politicking off it. But of course, these people can't resist. That's why I detest all of these politicians. Can't you just shut up for 5 minutes so we can figure out what's going on? Can't you lend support instead of complaining nonstop? And here I am complaining about them complaining. Isn't that funny? The U.S. has taken extreme precautions to ensure that anyone traveling back from China has been quarantined in order to limit the spread of the disease. Now, only if we listened to Tom Cotton, Republican from Alabama, if only we listened to him when he said we gotta, stop we gotta ban certain travel because of the disease. We could have listened. But the news of the first case where a patient has no known connection to travel abroad or other known cases now raises concern over how the disease could spread across America. Questions are also being asked over the CDC's handling of the latest case after an email from medical center officials to employees revealed that the CDC took 4 days to test the patient for the deadly disease despite requests from staff at the center. The leaked memo also suggested medical center staff may have been unnecessarily put at risk after some have now been told to go into isolation and watch for symptoms. A statement from CDC confirmed the first possible instance of community spread in the U.S. At this time, the patient's exposure is unknown. It's possible this could be an instance of community spread of COVID-19, which could be the first time this has happened in the U.S. Community spread means spread of an illness for which the source of an infection is unknown. The CDC did not rule out that the patient may have been in contact with an infected individual who is yet to be diagnosed or linked to the individual. It's also possible, however, that the patient may have been exposed to a returned traveler who was infected. We don't know, but we know it's spreading. Now check this out. We have this map here, coronavirus in the U.S. and Canada. Total 60 U.S. cases. We've got some in Canada. In Italy, they had a few isolated cases, and they thought it wasn't that big of a deal. And now it's skyrocketing. Apparently, the number has jumped dramatically from like 280 to like 450. And that means if you're looking at 450, the number is actually 4,000. It's going to keep jumping because you're only seeing them as they get reported as people start showing symptoms. So while they're saying right now 81,000 people have it, it's probably 800. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't want to overhype the number, but it's definitely a lot higher. If we go off the numbers from Italy, they say 81,000. And if we're looking at an additional, 70, 80% higher that we haven't tracked, then we're looking at 140 to 150,000 people infected around the world. That says to me that, if you're looking at this thinking, oh, it's no big deal. There's 10 people in California. There's one in Texas. No, that's the one they know about. And now in California, we don't even know how this person got sick, which brings me to, I can only say it for the 50 billionth time. If the governments are overreacting and you're not, you're doing something wrong. They're not going to be completely honest because they want to avoid panic. But when they know something and they go nuts, stands to reason it's worse than they're letting on. Japanese Prime Minister Abe asks all schools to close over coronavirus. Japan's entire school system, from elementary to high schools, will be asked to close from March 2nd until their upcoming spring break late in the month to help contain the coronavirus outbreak, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said on Thursday. Japan is going to shut down every single school in their country. They're asking them to over the fears of this virus. So Trump can come out and say everything's fine. Again, I get it. But do you think Japan is overreacting or underreacting? Honestly, don't know. I also don't care. There's an interesting phenomena when it comes to conflict crisis and, group mentality. I always tell people, I'll give you a physical real world example I experienced. I was in Venezuela and there was a group of protesters in the middle of an intersection. In one direction from them was a group of National Guard and they were armed. I told my crew, we are going to walk in the direction from the National Guard to where the protest is and then turn left. We want to be at an angle from them because if the National Guard runs towards the people, we don't want to be in between or part of either group. Well, sure enough, the group of students started screaming and running full speed away from where the National Guard was. So I yelled, run to the left. So they're going straight, we turn left and run the other direction. The point I'm trying to make is, when you see people like Shinzo Abe say we're going to shut down all our schools, that's akin to watching the group of people scream and run in a certain direction. Take notice, something is happening and it's going to be bad, but it could be wrong. And don't run with them, run in a direction that keeps you safe. The point I'm trying to make is, when we see all of these countries and all these governments react as though they're being charged at by someone very dangerous, then we should recognize there is a strong likelihood they're running from something on purpose, something that's really, really bad. It doesn't mean we should do the same things. It means we've noticed that people are freaking out and we don't want to be a party to their freak out. We want to remain calm and solve our problem in an intelligent way. I think when you see how, Russia's closed its borders, I think Russia closed its borders to China. We've seen Iran. We've seen people in Iran dying. We're seeing an explosion of cases in South Korea. And I showed you this graph already, a shocking chart showing that on day 41, the spike was from coronavirus to swine flu was substantially higher than where swine flu ended up. I think it's going to get real bad, man. I do. So I hope you're all seriously paying attention. Right now in Italy, it's jumped to 447. Just the other day, it was around 280 or so. I covered that. And here we are a day later. Boom, much higher. But let me tell you something. If you think that you're going to be fine, America won't get hit, then I'm sorry, you're wrong. You know, if you want to trust Trump when he says, don't worry about it, fine, but you better still take care of yourself. Fox 13 Tampa Bay reports flight attendant diagnosed with coronavirus after flights in and out of Los Angeles. And there it is. A flight attendant flew out of LA and was later diagnosed with having coronavirus. It's a 2-week incubation period, they say on average, with in some cases, 27 days. She was in LA, in an airport no less. And that's it. People fly around the world. The coronavirus can stay on surfaces for up to 9 days. So all she had to do, without being symptomatic, without knowing, cough. Touched a railing. Someone else touched the railing. Now that person's spreading it, and there you go. We don't know how some of these people are getting these diseases. And it was a week or so ago. We saw 3 cases, I believe, in Asia they couldn't trace. And that was the first indication we knew quarantine was shattered. We can try all we want. We can slow things down. But the fact remains, as you know, every day we see it. It's getting worse. And it's spreading around. And it's probably already in your town. You might think there's no reported cases. It's probably there, man. And I know a lot of people on Twitter are saying, "Oh, it's only 2% mortality." Do you want to buy a lotto ticket with a 2% chance you die? Yeah, nah, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in taking care of myself, so I hope you are too. I'll wrap this up by saying, just look, man, the stores are being raided. I will just cover all of the updates as the story changes and emerges. You can follow me. I've been basically doing the 1 p.m. coronavirus update as it's been getting crazier and crazier. But I will end with one more shout out to preparewithtim.com. These guys have emergency food supplies. I mean this sincerely when I say I rarely ever do this, but I really do think that, you know, not only it supports my channel when you buy from them, but I really do think you need to consider something like this. All right. I've got water and I've got food available, and this is a great way you can pick it up. They're experiencing delays in shipping, and this is the big news that I really want to get across to you guys. That's shocking to me. 100 times normal volume. The people who are in the know are already going for the supplies. Don't be last in line. Because when Trump finally comes out and says quarantine in America is broken, we've lost control, you're going to see every store, every shelf raided. And you know what's going to be left for you? You're going to be able to pick from one of these fine boxes of dry pasta noodles. Hey, man, I love pasta. But is that really what you want to be eating? If you have to, I'm sure you'll be fine doing it. But if you go out now and take care of yourself, if you order from preparewithtim.com, then you might be eating some nice fettuccine Alfredo with some chicken and beans and rice and having a real meal when things really do get bad and start locking things down. And I think they will. I think we're going to start seeing checkpoints set up. I think we're going to see school closures because the CDC has said so already. It's not a fringe opinion. It's not a conspiracy theory. The CDC said business and schools will be severely disrupted. I hope you're listening. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. youtube.com/Timcast. It's a different channel, and I will see you all there.